In this podcast, I would like to talk about how Batman changed the way I think. I mean, sure, I love other superheroes. Spider-Man is my second favorite superhero. There's just something about Batman I found quite so approachable and adaptable. First, let me take some time to state the base, as in the source material which established the character traits of Batman for me. They are Batman animated series, the Batman animated movies like Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. Batman vs Superman drew a lot of critical flack, but it kind of turned out to be a cult classic if you ask me. Yeah, it was flawed, but I still like just due to the sheer presence of Batman. I can go on and on discussing typical traits of Batman and certain situations which made Batman stand out. You can find it online doing some research or even watching a couple of videos on Batman's history, his companions, Robin, Nightwing, Batwoman, Alfred. But here, in this episode, I would like to talk about the intellectual traits of Batman which influenced me in some way. Yeah, I'm quite aware I'm talking about being influenced by fundamentally a fictional character. I mean, don't we all? Find Batman as a character so well written, and I thoroughly enjoy the nuances, the I don't know number of shades in the personality of Batman. It's the very ideology of individualism which makes Batman quite appealing. It's a basic concept which states that an individual's life belongs to himself and he has the indisputable right to act as he fits. It states that the individual is free to act on his own judgment. It states that the individual is a standalone unit when it comes to righteous concern. Individualism is not to be confused with something as bland as egoism. Egoism is basically just satisfying the self-interest, whereas individualism deals with deciding what's morally right. Collectivism can be considered as the exact contrast of individualism. Collectivism essentially promotes the betterment of group over single. It states that the society sets up the norms which are supposed to be respected as whole. I'm not able to find a more interesting way to state the fact that our very existence as of now is simply going through a battle between individualism and collectivism. We spend so much of energy trying to strike a balance between being oneself and being the person society expects us to be. The primary difference between an individualist and a collectivist forms the basis of the contrast in the characters of Batman and Superman. Batman is an individualistic and a pretty persistent one. This aspect of Batman draws me closer to explore his reasoning. The conflict between Batman and Superman essentially lies in the distinction between their ideologies. Batman has had a tragic story, which we have seen in almost every Batman movie, even the slow motion shot from Batman vs Superman with amazing background score. He saw the broken and imperfect society. He was convinced beyond a doubt that there is no way collectivism can bear any good, and there just isn't an anchor to keep him bound to the rules established by the individuals. He is absolutely clear in his understanding of what's right and what's wrong, and he is more inclined towards handling the wrongdoings by the individuals. This drives Bruce to train hard and pick up amazing set of skills. He dons the cape and cowl, giving a face to the terror the bad guys are afraid of. Batman, being an individualist, does whatever he thinks is morally right. In the amazing novel and even the animated movie, Batman The Dark Knight Returns, Part 1 and 2, we get to see a much older, beaten up Batman who beats Superman to pulp just because he was sent by the government to take down Batman and put a close to his ideology. That was kick-ass and a warning straight up on Superman's face to stay away from him. When it comes to pitching the ideology of Batman against Superman, even being an alien, he was raised on Earth by Kents, and their humble upbringing made Clark as human as any other person on Earth. Superman can be considered more human than Batman himself. It's when we start drawing parallels between the ideologies which are well suited for the world we live in as of now, things get interesting. Now here's a very important point to brainstorm about. Doesn't the very presence of such dark problems in our society indicates the failure of collectivism? Doesn't it direct towards the incapability of the standards, the rules established at making our society function well for all members? So clearly, if you ask me, for the world we live in, collectivism isn't quite operational. Hence it becomes quite easy to relate and adapt individualism in order to at least take a first step in taking back the control. Batman is more relatable to any other superhero possible. After all, under the mask, Batman is basically just a human, not blessed with any superhero power. He is a plain human being who has strived hard to reach the peak of his physical and psychological potential. His brain is such an intricate amalgamation of anguish, pain, rage, conviction, and clarity. You can see a clear line drawn between each emotion. He is always prepared for all the possible outcomes for a situation. I don't even have to talk about the kind of tactician he is. I personally liked Batman vs Superman. Batman and Lex Luthor were two of my favorite characters from the movie. Batman, with good reason, questions the very ethical egoism of Superman having all that godlike power. The same kind of distrust is seen in Lex Luthor when he tells Superman, because God is tribal, God takes sides. I figured out way back, if God is all powerful, he cannot be all good. And if he is all good, then he cannot be all powerful. And neither can you be. And not to forget, as unfair as the fight between a god like superhero and a human being seems, Batman defeated Superman based on his absolute resolve and his physical and psychological strength. Even after that, Superman respects Batman and considers Batman to be the most dangerous man on earth. Not only that, Superman has immense faith in Batman, so much so that he hands over a kryptonite bullet to Batman in case if Superman himself went rogue. That for me pretty much sums it up. This makes Batman my favorite superhero. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.